Finding that hidden account was like discovering a parallel life I never signed up for. When I logged into our joint finances last Friday, just routine bill paying, I almost choked on my coffee. There was a tab for a reserve that I'd never noticed, and beneath it a balance, slashed across the screen in 7 figures. Millions. My pulse thundered as I stared at the number blinking back at me. $3,240,000. My husband's secret bank account, plump with cash I'd never known existed, hidden behind layers of tabs and small print. I shut my laptop so hard the screen flickered. My head spun. How many other secrets had he kept? And why? Why me, his wife of 10 years? I crept down the hallway to his home office. He sat there, back turned, sorting paperwork. The afternoon light cast his silhouette in gold. My voice trembled as I said, "David, can we talk?" He spun around, eyes warm with surprise. "Of course, what's up?" I gestured at the closed laptop. "This." I reopened it, clicking to reveal the reserve account. He reddened, jaw tightening. He stammered, "I can explain." I pressed on. "Explain what?" "That you've been hiding millions from me, our family, from our joint finances." He swallowed. "I needed a backup just in case." "In case what?" I echoed, hands shaking. "In case of emergencies, market crashes, health crises. I didn't want to worry you." I sank into his guest chair, mind racing. "You didn't trust me with our safety?" He knelt beside me. "It's not that. I wanted to protect you from stress, sleepless nights. I thought I could handle it alone." I closed my eyes, anger flaring. "Handle it alone? That's not partnership, that's deception." He exhaled. "I know I messed up. I'm sorry." And just like that, the ground beneath me shifted. This wasn't just about money, it was about every decision we'd made together, the vacations we'd planned on a modest budget, the retirement fund I'd thought we'd built side by side. Had he quietly siphoned half our combined net worth into an account I couldn't touch? I left his office without another word and retreated to our bedroom. I sank onto the bed, burying my face in my hands. My phone buzzed, my sister asking if dinner was still on for tonight. I didn't respond. I needed time to think. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in the darkness, replaying every conversation about money. The year we decided to downsize, the time I encouraged him to invest in my small business, the moment he'd said, "We're in this together." None of it felt real anymore. Morning came with a crucial decision. I needed more information before I confronted him again. I reached out to Clara, my financial planner friend, and texted, "Urgent. Found hidden 7-figure account and joint login. Yours or my own? Help." Her reply was swift. "Breathe. Document everything. I recommend a forensic accountant. Know your legal rights. Marital asset versus separate asset. Can we talk?" Within the hour, I sat with Clara in a coffee shop, sipping strong espresso. She walked me through scenarios. In community property states, hidden assets are still marital, inequitable. Division jurisdictions, courts consider intent and transparency. She urged me to get a professional audit. Back home, I confronted David with my plan. He listened quietly as I said, "I'm hiring a forensic accountant to map our finances. I want full disclosure." He nodded, remorse in his eyes. "Whatever you need." 3 days later, the accountant arrived, a poised woman named Elena, briefcase in hand. She and Clara combed through our bank statements, investments, retirement plans, every digital footprint. Over 2 hours, I watched as our financial puzzle unfolded. Elena spoke gently. The reserve account contains a mix of inheritance, dividends, stock, options from your old company, and residuals from a property you co-owned years ago. Legally, these funds are marital property unless there's a prenuptial clause stating otherwise. My heart pounded. We never said a prenup. Clara nodded. Then it's community property. You have equal rights. I exhaled and turned to David. All of it, every dollar is ours. He gripped my hand. I know. I want to share it with you. Part of me wanted to collapse into his arms. Another part bristled. This was about rebuilding. Trust, not splitting cash. Elena continued. I'll prepare a full report for your attorney. But you two need to devise a new financial plan, one transparent to both. David squeezed my hand. Let's do it. That evening, in the glow of our kitchen lights, we sat with spreadsheets and calculators. We laid out the reserve account next to our joint checking, retirement funds, children's college, savings. We created categories: emergency fund, investment pool, charitable giving, personal, discretionary spending. We drafted rules: no moving money without mutual consent, shared access to all accounts, monthly finance meetings. It felt awkward at first, like we were renegotiating our marriage terms, but with each number we realigned, our connection deepened. During a break, David turned to me, eyes earnest. I'm sorry I made you feel powerless. I reached for his hand. I forgive you, but I need to know we're equals always. He nodded. Equals always. That night, I reflected on what I'd learned. Secrets, however well-intentioned, erode trust. Transparency, even when painful, cements connection. Money isn't just numbers, it's power, security, and an expression of love. As I slipped into bed, I whispered into the darkness, "Thank you for showing me the truth, and for building our future together on honest ground." And as I drifted off, I knew the hidden millions would no longer divide us, but become the foundation of our strongest partnership yet. 3 days into the audit, I realized I was digging not just into bank statements, but into the very foundation of our marriage. When Elena, our forensic accountant, arrived that morning, she carried a thick binder and a calm determination. I watched her unpack files, statements, tax returns, property deeds like puzzle pieces. David hovered nearby, guilt and hope battling in his expression. I sat at the kitchen table, heart pounding as Clara took notes. Elena cleared her throat. We've traced the reserve account back 5 years. It began as a modest inheritance. Your grandmother left David a small trust. Over time, he reinvested. Dividends, funneled stock gains, and even rolled in a rental property's profits without recording these under your joint accounts. I pressed my fingers together. Why didn't he tell me? David opened his mouth, but Elena held up a hand. We'll get to intent. For now, here are the facts. She spread sheets, annual contributions, interest accruals, capital gains. The reserve had grown from $50,000 to over $3.2 million, while our joint savings hovered at $30,000 for emergencies. My throat tightened. Emergency fund, I whispered. We had none. Clara placed a hand on mine. That has to change. Elena nodded. Legally, without a prenuptial agreement, these funds are marital property. But if David can demonstrate he intended these as individual savings, separate property, it could complicate equitable division. She locked eyes with him. Intent matters. David swallowed. My intention was never to claim this as mine. It was our safety net. Elena jotted notes. We'll compile a declaration of intent. But your wife's contributions, emotional domestic labor, also count. Courts consider non-financial contributions heavily. Megan, you have every right to equal access. I breathed out, a mix of relief and resolve. I want full transparency on paper and practice. That afternoon, we met with our family attorney, Karen. She sat at her polished oak desk, folding and unfolding her hands as she reviewed Elena's report. David, she began, the court will look at when these funds were deposited, your reasons, and whether Megan had any knowledge. Concealment can work against you. She looked at me with sympathy. Megan, you'll need to demonstrate how the secrecy harmed your marital partnership. Clara interjected. We have text records. Megan confronting David, his apologies, and the lack of emergency savings in joint accounts that left the family vulnerable during our last car. Emergency? Karen nodded. Good. That shows impact. She turned back to David. You'll sign an affidavit explaining your intent and commit to converting this into a joint trust. He exhaled. Yes. I felt the tension ease. Formalizing our agreement could heal this breach. That evening, David and I walked through the neighborhood where we once picnicked under oak trees. The autumn air was crisp, leaves swirling in russet whirlwinds. I glanced at him, his figure firm in his coat, and asked, Do you regret hiding it? He paused, gaze distant. Yes. I thought I was sparing you stress, but I ended up causing more. I slowed my pace. I know you wanted to protect me, but protection without inclusion feels like exclusion. He nodded. From now on, whatever concerns you, money, work, family, we face it together. He slipped his hand into mine. No more secrets. 2 weeks later, we signed papers to convert the reserve into a jointly held family security trust. We drafted bylaws, both names on withdrawals over $5,000, annual public statement too, our children's education fund, and a commitment to financial counseling every quarter. We celebrated that night with takeout sushi, spicy tuna, never our usual role, symbolizing our new appetite for transparency. He raised his glass of sake. To our shared future. I clinked mine. To partnership always. That Saturday, I held a brunch for my parents and David's, revealing our new trust. My mother beamed, relieved. My father clasped my arm, eyes shining. David's mom patted his hand. Finally, we're all in this together, she said. As laughter and clinking glasses filled the room, I realized money was never just about numbers. It was about trust, respect, and the stories we tell ourselves about love. That night, as I slipped into bed in our recalibrated home, I whispered to the quiet we found each other again, in every figure and every promise. And as the moonlight washed the room, I knew our story was no longer a secret ledger, but an open book, one we would write together every day. Trust isn't a contract. It's the quiet promise you renew every single day. A month has passed since we signed the family security trust papers, and life has settled into a new rhythm, one that feels steadier, as if our marriage has found its North Star again. But the real test came not in signing documents, but in the small choices we make each morning. That Tuesday, I found David poring over our joint budget spreadsheet before breakfast. He glanced up, eyes warm. I added a line for couples' financial goals, he said, scrolling. Like our Italy trip fund, the kitchen renovation, and a just because date night budget. I smiled, heart swelling. I love that. As he explained his entries, allocations for investments, emergency savings, and the fun Stuff. I realized how transparency had become an act of love. He was inviting me into his world, dollar by dollar, decision by decision. Later that afternoon, I sat down with Clara for my quarterly financial check-in, another ritual we'd agreed upon. We reviewed our progress, the trust account topped up, our joint account, balance healthier than it had ever been, our retirement portfolios diversified, and even a small charitable contribution earmarked, just like we discussed under those birthday candles. Clara looked at me with pride. You've taken control of your financial story. Few people can say that. I laughed softly. It felt like healing stitches, painful at first, but now I barely noticed the scars. That evening, David and I attended a local seminar on couples and money, navigating power, and partnership. The speaker, a financial therapist, asked the room, "How many of you have ever kept a financial secret?" A sea of raised hands mirrored our old selves. When it was our turn to share, I spoke in a clear voice. We learned that secrecy, even with good intentions, erodes intimacy. But rebuilding trust requires honesty, shared rituals, and a willingness to listen. David chimed in. We're proof that financial transparency can strengthen a marriage if both partners commit. The applause felt like a benediction, not just for us, but for everyone in that room. When we left, strangers came up to thank us, to say they'd booked their own joint meeting with a counselor or drafted their first shared budget. We walked home feeling like pioneers of a new frontier, the intersection of love and money. On Saturday, I surprised David with brunch at our favorite cafe. As we waited for avocado toast and lattes, I pulled out 2 envelopes, just like the first time he sent me that personal note about choosing each other. He opened his envelope, a simple card, hand-lettered, reading, "To my partner in every venture, financial and emotional, thank you for trusting me with your heart." He blinked back tears, then handed me mine. It said, "To the one who taught me that love isn't measured in dollars, but in shared dreams and transparent decisions." I reached across and squeezed his hand. "I choose you always." That afternoon, we hosted our first money and marriage potluck, a small gathering of friends and family in our backyard. We shared simple dishes, my mother's quiche, David's famous potato salad, a chocolate torte from his grandmother's recipe. Over picnic blankets, we discussed our journey, moments of doubt, the thrill of ownership, the freedom of shared vision. Someone asked, "What's the number one lesson you'd share?" I answered without hesitation. Speak up when you feel uncertain, whether it's a flirty text or a hidden bank account. Silence. Let shadows grow. David added, and build rituals, like our quarterly check-ins and monthly goal reviews, so honesty becomes as natural as breathing. Our friends nodded, jotting down notes on napkins. We laughed, clinked glasses of iced tea, and realized that our vulnerabilities had transformed into the strongest bridges between us. That night, as we tucked the kids into bed, I watched David read their favorite bedtime story, his eyes soft, voice steady. When he closed the book, he kissed their foreheads and whispered good night. I caught his gaze, and in that quiet moment, I saw the man who had risked everything to protect our future, and then learned that protection means inclusion, not exclusion. I slipped my arm around his waist. "I'm proud of what we've built," I said. He rested his head on mine. We did it together. In our office, the laptop beckoned with updated account balances glowing on the screen. A testament to joint effort, not secret caution. I took his hand and closed the lid, the number safe, for another quarter. As we walked back to the bedroom, I thought of that first day I discovered the secret account, and how lost I felt. Now we navigated by a new map, one charted by honesty, shared responsibility, and the knowledge that financial security is sweetest when it's a journey, undertaken side by side. I slipped into bed, burying my head in his shoulder and whispering into the dark, "Thank you for bringing me into your world." He kissed the top of my head. "Thank you for staying." And as sleep enveloped us, I knew our story would continue, woven with the belief that a marriage fortified by transparency is a fortress no secret can ever breach.